Today I have a pleasant chat with Elisha and Louise from Not Another Onesie. Not Another Onesie is an online destination for new mamas, families and friends to find their support crew. It offers a thoughtfully curated directory of postpartum experts and service providers with the aim of making it easy for new and expectant parents to seek and find professional and valuable local, national and online services that will best support their wellbeing through pregnancy, birth and postpartum. Not Another Onesie have done all the research and work of gathering the village for you, as they know that new parents thrive with support, not more stuff. Enjoy the episode. Welcome, Elisha and Louisa, to the podcast. It's so lovely to have two guests on. Thank you for being here.
Oh, it's lovely to be here.
Absolutely. Nice to see you.
I'm looking forward to our chat. So I understand that between the two of you, you have 7 children. So I'd love to hear more about how you both came into your own motherhoods. So perhaps, Elisha, you can talk to that first.
Sure. So yes, I am a mother to 4. I have, my youngest is 8. My next up is 11. I have to think about it because they keep growing. The next one is 14 and my eldest has just turned 17. So coming into motherhood was interesting. I actually, in my 20s, so I always wanted to be a mum, absolutely, with my whole heart. I was surrounded by children all the time. I studied early childhood education. I was a nanny during my university days. And I absolutely knew that I wanted to be a mum. I then, in my 20s, was diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome. And the doctor just really bluntly told me that I probably wouldn't have children. And very different time back then. I think so much has developed now, and I don't imagine anyone would hear that. I hope no one would hear that with that diagnosis. But at the time, that was what I was told, which was devastating. But I really just kind of saw looked into what I could do on my end, and I'm very thankful that actually I didn't have any issues at all having children. So that's kind of good news for anyone who might get that diagnosis and ever be told something similar. I was teaching at the time I fell pregnant, and I do remember thinking to myself, oh, I can't wait to be at home with a little tiny baby, teaching 25 5-year-old boys in a classroom. It's got to be easier than this. And so, yeah, I went into motherhood really excited and had a great pregnancy. I think my initial thoughts were I was pretty hard on myself, and I do remember thinking that life would be literally heading back after having a baby and really returning to life as it was, but a little cute baby on my hip. Had this quite unrealistic idea that that's what it would be. And I was really keen to show everyone that I was like so the same, and everything was all good and I could handle everything. I remember having a dinner party not long after having my first, because of course I could. It was easy, I always did. I certainly could again. And I also remember my husband saying to me, my first was 10 pounds. And I remember the birth was great, but I was left, with a lot of healing to do. And I remember my husband saying, I think you just need to head out for a big walk. It always makes you feel better. And I think it was like day 3. And I thought, oh yeah, of course, that must be true. So we went for a big power walk out with the buggy, and I think went for like lunch with friends. And I just remember absolutely falling apart, thinking I was in so much pain and just had no concept that actually I should have just been at home resting. So that was my first. And then we traveled overseas for my husband's work. So I actually had each of my 4 children in different countries. So my second was born in London, and then we were moved to Hong Kong. So my third was born in Hong Kong, and my fourth was born in Singapore. So 4 different postpartum experiences, 4 different pregnancies, 4 different babies, 4 different experiences altogether. I think realizing each baby is so unique, and your experience with each one is also unique. I remember thinking as well with my fourth, things popped up and I thought, I should know this. I should be across this. This shouldn't be difficult. But she was different again to the others. And there's an expectation, if it's not your first, that you should know everything. Like, you don't need as much support because you've done it all before. But even with my fourth, I was discovering new things that were different. Yes, that's really my early entry into motherhood. And yeah, that for 9 years I was kind of either pregnant or had a small baby and was moving around. And I think a lot of the time I would have handled things a lot better later on if I had have rested in the beginning and taken that time to heal and recover. The mental messaging that I had going on in my mind, which I was completely unaware of, that's what it was. But looking back, I kept telling myself that when things were really tricky, I remember thinking, I've had this baby, I've chosen to have a baby, I wanted to be a mum. Never in my wildest dreams would have I had ever thought of reaching out for help or putting my hand up to say, this is actually really hard, and I think I just need either someone to talk to or just some help and support. Never. It just didn't even cross my mind that I could do that. And my goodness, how it could have changed a lot of things if I had have. I wish that I did, but my internal messaging was very hard on myself, and I can see that now. And I wish I had been a little bit more compassionate and a little bit more willing to be vulnerable and say, yes, this is actually really hard. And there were some beautiful, amazing times, but there's hard times. And I think it's important to acknowledge that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Elisha, your story. What a lot of experience you have in motherhood. And PCOS to 4 children, fantastic, defying the odds. And I love the message that you've brought out, because you're not alone in this one, is that for some reason, I can't even explain logically why or how, but it's almost like there's this silent agreement that we have with ourselves to resign from every other part of our life, and now our child is our sole responsibility. And yeah, it does set us up for, feelings that we shouldn't have to have.
Yeah.
So thank you. Louise, share your story with us.
Yeah, so I have 3 children. I have 2 girls and a boy. My 2 girls were born in the UK, as you can probably hear from my accent. I'm not from around these parts, although we have lived here in Australia for 13 years, so quite some time. Our son was born here in Australia, so he considers himself to be the only Australian in the family. So my children are 15, 13 and 10. And I think it's fair to say that my journey into motherhood was quite different to Elisha's, in as far as to say I never really gave any real thought to becoming a mum. It wasn't particularly high up on my agenda of things to do. I certainly spent my late 20s, early 30s really focusing on my career, doing lots of traveling. I remember actually having a conversation with my own mum and saying, at what point will I start to feel like I have maternal instincts? Is there something wrong with me? All my friends seem to be settling down and having children, and I'm just not feeling those feels. And when will that kick in? And she said, well, actually, it may not, and that's okay. You don't have to conform. Just because everybody else is having children, you don't have to do the same. But equally, you might find that perhaps, you just get pregnant and you feel those maternal instincts kick in. Who knows? But you can't really spend too much time worrying about it or thinking about it, just see what happens. So yeah, it was kind of, I think, a bit of a shock for friends and family when I did fall pregnant with my first. And fortunately, I did start to have a very strong maternal instinct. And I think it's fair to say that, my life, my journey into motherhood saw my life change dramatically in a great positive way. But just completely different. I think I threw myself hook, line and sinker into being a mum and motherhood and learning all things motherhood. It was definitely quite isolating, it would be fair to say, in as far as geographically we moved from a very busy place into a very quiet place. My day-to-day was completely different to anything I'd done before. I didn't really have friends and family to support me. And so, I think, to Elisha's point, having any sort of understanding about postpartum support, or understanding that I didn't need to try and get back to, being the person that I was before, and managing to do all the things that I did before, and would have been incredibly beneficial. I, like Elisha, definitely didn't reach out for help. I just thought I'm fine, I'll just crack on and do it on my own. That's not to say I didn't have a lot of support from my mum as and when she came to visit. She, if anything, she was the most doula-like person in my life. So she was a massive help, but she didn't just live around the corner. I think it's fair that motherhood is a real roller coaster in so many ways, in the highs, the lows, the feelings of frustration. It's definitely, there's lots of joy, but there's lots of overwhelm. And I think it's really important to recognize, all aspects of motherhood. It's chaotic, and it's really hard. And I think just acknowledging that and having the conversation and not being afraid to say, actually today I've had a really rubbish day and I really need some help. It would be great if that was very acceptable and normal to have those conversations. And I think, unfortunately, still today, it probably isn't as commonplace as it should be. Motherhood has been, as I said, a roller coaster ride, but one I've absolutely enjoyed to the max in spite of it all. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I'd like to just pull something out of what you said about the maternal instinct. And I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I think as a society, and the pressure that's often amongst families for our children to also have children, is that feeling like just because you're female, you should want to have a baby. You should want to be doing that. And it's, I think, normalizing that dialogue, that is something that some women don't feel, and there's nothing wrong with them. It isn't for everyone as well, but it's something that I think a lot of women hide because they don't want anybody to know that maybe they didn't have those maternal feelings. So thanks for mentioning.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, it's certainly not anything anyone's ever really said to me about themselves. It's definitely this kind of feeling of, to some extent, maybe shame around it, to be honest, because you're female, therefore you should want to have babies. I think it's the expectation.
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you. I know that the two of you have had another birth of sorts. Elisha was sharing a little bit with me off the recording, is that you've been able to use a lot of analogies relating to motherhood and birthing in your actual launching of your beautiful business. So tell us about your beautiful brand and business, why you've created it, and what was the intention behind launching this business.
Yes, definitely a lot of analogy to birthing a baby, birthing a business. I was saying at the beginning, we were both nesting before it launched, like we had to get everything prepared and ready before it entered the world. Um, so the whole concept behind Not Another Onesie is I was doing postpartum care work at the time and loved the whole concept of looking after mums postpartum. COVID really changed quite a lot about that on many levels, how that would look, also what my own life looks like with 4 kids at home doing home learning. So I took some time out away from that. And when I went back to it, I realized that there was some really incredible growth happening around postpartum services that were being created, but still such a gap between those services and the mothers who needed those services and the connection of the two. And felt like I just had a vision for bringing all of that together. So, first of all, mums did not have to search high and low for these incredible services, and making sure that all of this beautiful support was actually sent into the right direction. So it wasn't sitting there waiting for people to come. It was actually they could do what they do best, which is support mothers. Um, so that's the whole concept behind Not Another Onesie. It's making sure that mothers, all regardless of where you are, will have access to support and awareness of what kind of support exists, awareness of how that can benefit you, pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and beyond, and just making sure that it's cohesive and it's brought together, not fragmented, not difficult to find, not confusing or overwhelming.
Yeah, I think Elisha, when she came to me with the idea, she said, I just really want to avoid mums going down a rabbit hole at 2 a.m. and doing the 2 a.m. Google and still coming out with the wrong answer or not the answer, or no support. And wouldn't it be great if we just could make mums' lives just so much easier to find the support that they really need when they really need it the most? So, yeah, that was... sorry to interject, but
no, that's it. That's and Louise's background is marketing. My background is more postpartum care and education. So together, it's a really great mix because it's a completely different skill set. And a lot of the time, service providers are so busy doing this incredible support that not always marketing and making sure the website is visible isn't always top of the list. So that's another area that we're kind of looking at. How can we make sure that these services are visible and easy to find?
That's brilliant. Yeah. Did you have something to add, Louise?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I had a quick thing just to add to Elisha when she said we were busy nesting before we launched Not Another Onesie, because it was quite a funny story where Elisha, about a week before we went live with Not Another Onesie, was actually frantically cooking food and stock in the freezer as if she were actually having a baby, because she knew how time, well, actually we probably didn't know quite how time poor we were going to be, but we anticipated being quite time poor, as you are when you've just had a baby. So that made me giggle, but yeah, very good planning. But yeah, I think, as we know, it does take a village to raise a child. It's an age-old proverb, but it's true, and it's the community support that we know is really vital to the well-being of mothers and babies alike. And that's really the idea behind Not Another Onesie. We wanted to make sure that, knowing as we do firsthand how huge the adjustment to motherhood can be, and as Elisha said, whether it's your first or you're adding one to the crew, it's a lot, whichever way you look at it. We really wanted to create the resource that we wished we'd had when we had our first, second, third, in Elisha's case, fourth. And we were in the midst of those really, truly vulnerable beginnings of motherhood. We just wanted to create the resource that, we thought would be the most useful for new mums. So it's Not Another Onesie it's a carefully curated directory of mother care professionals or service providers. So all sorts of different services, which I'm sure we'll come on to, but think lactation specialists, sleep consultants, physios, nutritionists, people who can come and clean your house and make it nice and tidy whilst you do your important job of being a new mum and focusing on recovering yourself. So we want to connect new mums to this whole wealth of amazing resources that do exist, and we just want to make it really easy for people to find them. So
that's just absolutely wonderful. And like myself too, these sorts of things are usually born out of our own experiences and the areas in which we knew were lacking, and there were gaps. And even though we internally took on the message that it is our role, we still, I don't know about you, Elisha, but deep down, and Louise, I still felt that it shouldn't be this way.
Yeah.
No, it's my responsibility because nobody's coming forth and saying otherwise. But is it really normal? It just doesn't feel normal. And so the passion and the understanding of what mothers really need from mothers that have experienced, motherhood, it's next level. It really does. You will have covered all bases and you will understand exactly, as you said, you don't want a mother at 3:00 in the morning trying to fumble her way through, Google, trying to find something while she's in tears.
Yeah.
And for you to do that homework for mums is incredible, so helpful. And I'm really excited by Not Another Onesie.
We're actually this morning I woke up my usual very early time and actually contacted Elisha because we'd had a mum in the middle of the night get in touch in various different ways with Not Another Onesie and with a couple of our service providers, our care professionals, which I just found incredible because I thought, well, this is exactly why we're here. Somebody's obviously needing help. It's the middle of the night, and they've managed to find us and reach out to us and hopefully then find some support that they actually need, which is just, it's so reassuring. And I got in touch with Elisha whilst we were busy making our lunches for the day this morning and said, this is great. This is somebody a mum who clearly needs some help and they found Not Another Onesie, and what a great thing.
Yeah, how beautiful. It gave me goosebumps when I heard that. Yeah, that's exactly what we want. Hey, so was it hard to find mother care practitioners? Sounds as like there's a plethora of professionals out there that really do want to help.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's so many different levels of support that is available. There are obviously the lactation consult. Well, not I say obviously, but it's not always obvious at all. A lot of new parents don't actually know that such a service exists or such a support exists as a lactation consultant or a sleep specialist or coach or a matrescence coach, somebody who can guide you through this transition into motherhood. A lot of new mothers are not aware that this even exists. So first of all, yes, there is incredible, amazing support. Being able to be guided through that whole transition with somebody who can be right next to you is amazing. Having a postpartum doula who can help provide comfort on a physical level and emotional level, and then having somebody who can help heal physically, so pelvic floor specialist, physiotherapist, so you know you can go back to exercise safely and not do long-term damage down the track, or heal while your body is obviously going back into, all the organs are going back into their place, and that takes a lot of time. And being able to have a specialist help you make sure that you're doing the right things for that long-term healing to happen. And then there is on the other side of it, so somebody who can come in and help, yes, clean the house, because although the important work is being with your baby, a lot of the time it can feel very conflicting because you're trying to do all of the things. So if that's taken care of, then the important work of being with your baby can be done. Understanding that a lot of these services, there is cost involved. So another area we're really looking into is the services that are not for profit, which can help support. We're really investigating those, and we want to do a lot more with that as well, because that creates access, a lot more access to mothers who need it. Then there's social support. So there's a lot of support in the community. So support happens on so many different levels, and we bring together the support services. So that's one really important level. The professional care professionals who can come in and help you on all those different levels. But definitely there are the social level of support in the community. So things like mothers groups, that's important as well, or just other kinds of groups. If mothers group isn't your thing, finding mums and bubs classes where you can just meet other people in the same situation. I think those kind of that level of support is really important as well. We do have an ebook that we wrote about all of those different kinds of support, which is helping you gather your village as well. Yeah.
And I think probably important to mention from our perspective, when we were putting Not Another Onesie together, as we continue to put it together and as we grow, and we're really carefully curating the support that we pop on there. We want to make sure that everybody who is part of our village is, vested in the same mission as us, that they have the same values, that they have the right qualifications and expertise to be a really high quality support, that they're really going to help the mums and the new parents along the way. So yeah, that's really important to us.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so very comprehensive support, and sounds like we're all screened very well in order to make it your directory. So you've shared so much about what women need in postpartum, but maybe just to reiterate that, what do you think are her most basic needs?
I feel like in postpartum, it's, well, support, as we have said, is what we are all about. But as I also just said, there's so many levels of that support. So definitely nourishment and self-care, self-compassion, reaching out when things are hard, actually having that understanding that's okay to do, I think is the first step. And then knowing where to go when you need to reach out. Lou, have you any tips?
It's kind of our mission to make sure that maternal wellness and supportive services in pregnancy, birth and postpartum are recognised as essential, not just merely a nice to have. And so we really understand firsthand, but also from our sort of shared experiences amongst friends and family, that what really matters is the support you get as a new mama. That makes such a huge difference, as we sort of outlined. But To Elisha's point, there's immediate support, which is a kind of your inner circle, friends, family. And we talk a lot, actually, when you go through some of the resources on Not Another Onesie, about the importance of being a good friend and a good family member, and showing up in the right way and a helpful way. And that's actually really important, I think, to understand that. So we want to kind of educate people on how to be a good inner circle support. There's also the sort of practical stuff. So, as Elisha said, there's things that just need to happen in life. The house still needs to be cleaned. The meals still need to be cooked. But isn't it great if you've got the practical support and help to get those things done, so you can focus on your number one job, which is being a new mum? There's also the kind of moral and emotional support. So the kind of connection and care. The word compassion keeps coming out, but I think it's compassion for yourself and compassion from others, and knowing that it's okay not to be okay, and ask for help. And we've actually got some amazing people we've spoken to in the last few months who offer some really incredible emotional support to new mums, psychologists, mental health counsellors. And it's not just there's a kind of, I think, a societal assumption that if you're reaching out for help psychologically, then you must have postnatal depression. Not true. Let's dispel that myth. There can be a day, a week, a month that is just really hard, and it's really helpful just to talk to somebody. So I think normalising getting moral and emotional support is massively on our agenda. And then, of course, there's the care professionals. So all of the people who we're learning about every day and having connections with, and creating this village of, be it sleep, be it lactation help, be it, physical help, nutrition. And it's quite a combination of all of those things, I think, that really sort of bolster you and help you. And what we want to create is this kind of feeling of being able to recover, to restore, and to thrive as much as possible in motherhood. Sort of straight after you've had a baby, but also well into the future.
Yeah.
It's definitely a long game, I think, as well. So postpartum is the beginning of a very long, beautiful journey that you're setting the foundations when you're taking care of yourself and getting that support in the beginning, because it helps you down the track as you keep going along and along with all the different phases that come through motherhood.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why the podcast is called Postpartum is Forever.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
you don't sort of bounce back and at 6 weeks, so to speak. And as we were sort of discussing off camera, that maybe we'd never really bounce back to the way we were. And that's okay too. But I think it's quite paradoxical, really, in this sort of modern, fast-paced, what we think is progressive world, that, on the one hand, we have access to so much information and to products and things and devices that I know I never had, and I'm sure at some point you never had either. I did a quick Google search on monitors in one of the retail baby stores, and there was 150 choices.
Wow.
Just for a baby monitor. And I thought, wow, no wonder mothers and families are overwhelmed, because all the things that they think they need, that is not a simple process either. There's enormous amounts of choices. So I feel like in this society, we are externally prepared.
Yeah.
So we're set up for the latest gadgets that supposedly are going to make our life more, practical and easier and convenient. And we feel more resourced that way. But despite the information overload that we're exposed to, I don't think that allows for us being internally prepared for postpartum and motherhood. And so I'd really love if mothers can start flipping that dialogue to start talking about thinking about how can I plan to have my needs met in postpartum, recognizing that as a mother, you will be just as vulnerable as your baby is.
Mm.
How can I find my village, my support? We know now where we can find it through you, but how can I set myself up for the most restful, restorative, postpartum? I need my environment to be peaceful. I need to be quiet because my nervous system is going to be activated. And how can I support that? We're going to need tools and we're going to need to somehow manage the sleep deprivation. So I feel like I would love mothers to start thinking about these things, thinking about the fact that it's going to take time and patience to breastfeed, if that's what you choose to do. It's not going to be an overnight sort of natural practice. It's going to take time and patience to really get this loving attachment with our baby. So these are the things. More the internal is what I think we're missing in this society, despite feeling like, we've come so far.
On so many levels, not even just with regards to motherhood, actually, but that's a different conversation. And Elisha and I, certainly when we were conceptualizing Not Another Onesie, we talked a lot about how, you have your 6 week, you have your baby, you have your 6 week appointment, you get a quick check, and then off you pop, you'll be fine, and off you go.
True.
And how crazy the whole situation is. I think, the irony of the sort of name Not Another Onesie, what we're not saying is you shouldn't buy any products or, enjoy a nice new onesie for your baby. But the point being is that it's not actually really stuff that people need, that yes, you need a few bits and pieces, but actually what you really need to focus on and have a really good think about is what's going to serve you and make your journey into motherhood as enjoyable as it possibly can be. And it's not going to be a bed of roses, but you can certainly help with putting certain things in place, or at least considering how you might feel post having your baby, and getting the support that you need.
Definitely. And I think the whole concept of things for the baby, I would say that the biggest, most important thing a newborn baby needs is a mother who is supported, because the baby actually needs very, very little. The baby really can exist without all of those gadgets. But a supported mother will be the biggest gift a baby can actually have in those early weeks, especially before they are even aware that they're a separate being. Like, they really are just with the mother, and the more support a mother has, the more benefit the baby has. Yes, and also our point on getting the concept of a planning in place. So we offer one-on-one postpartum planning, which is also something that I had never considered at all. But the value of it is massive. And even if while you're pregnant, you can't quite visualize what that time will look like, it's a bit like a birth plan. That plan may not go exactly to the word that you've written down, but it can really guide you and make you feel more informed for the decisions you make in that process. And I think the same with postpartum planning. It's equally important and gives you the chance to think about those things and maybe do that research and find those support services before you're actually in the depths of sleep deprivation, hormonal upheaval, having really important conversations with your partner so that that can be in place before you're in it and feeling frustrated and unable to,
and overwhelmed.
And it can really help set a really strong foundation for that time. And even if it doesn't look exactly like you've got the plan, it means you've got a foundation and a bit of a framework, and you've thought about things. So when it does pop up, it's like, oh, okay, I had considered this, but I wasn't sure how this would go. But I do know where I can go to get the support, because I've already had that, conversation, and I've had that thinking, planning.
Yeah.
I think the other part of that as well is we're really keen that friends and family members, in the spirit of wanting to be there and helpful and supportive, can actually come on to Not Another Onesie and find something very meaningful and helpful to gift in the shape of support. So rather than just buying a thing, a product, or more stuff that perhaps may or may not be useful, it's about really having a good, strong, hard think about what can I do to really support this person who means a lot to me, and I want to help them in their journey. So, it could be the gift of meals, it could be, delivered to the door, it could be the gift of some physio appointments, it might be the gift of even some sessions with a mental health counsellor. It could be anything, but any of those things could be massively game-changing and incredibly helpful to those new parents as they make their merry way as new parents with a newborn. So we want to really sort of change the conversation too around what's really helpful to gift, to be as supportive as you possibly can be.
Things like baby showers as well, so gifting baby showers.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. I think it really does take a village to raise a child, but it takes a village to raise a family as well. So thinking about this as not just for the mother, but also for the partner and the other family members. It's a gift for all of them. So how would somebody find you? What would be the process for somebody that wants to start the planning process for their own postpartum, or family that are thinking, what should we get for our loved one?
So the best place to find us is at notanotheronesie.com.au, and once you land on our site, it's fairly clear. We've really worked hard at making sure that it's clear and easy to use. So you have a search button, you have find, all of our categories of support services are listed. You can go through, click on them, and just explore different service providers, click through to their website, contact them directly. We also have a gift section. So if you click on that, it has some ideas about how to gift. There's an article we have in our Learn section, which is all about how to gift services and what to consider when you're gifting a service to a new mum. Then we have, other articles and downloadable ebooks in our Learn section. We are always available for a chat. We are so happy for anyone to reach out, and we can point anyone in the right direction. I offer one-on-one consults with the planning of postpartum planning, or if you already have a baby and you're just like, I'm not really sure what's going on here, I just need some direction and help in even where to start, then I can also do a consult on that, and it's just gathering your village and we help you just work out where to go next. Have I forgotten anything on our site? I think that's
well, the only other thing is you can, as a new mum, you can go on and choose, you can kind of have a browse, and if there's anything that really takes your fancy and you think is going to be particularly helpful for you, you can click it as a favourite, and you can share your favourites with your friends and family members. So that's a really easy to use function. I guess the other thing to mention is it's completely free to use Not Another Onesie. So as a mum, you can come on and, please access all the resources at your leisure. What we really want to avoid is total overwhelm of information. To your point, Katura, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of misinformation, and what we want to do is make sure that anything that we put on from a resource point of view is particularly helpful in educating and informing, and keeps things quite clutter-free, to the point. And, the last thing you want to do is read a load of unnecessary information. People just don't have the time or the energy to do that, particularly when they've got a newborn in tow. I think that's all I'd add.
All of that information will be included in the show notes. I really do hope that many mums and families are listening to this and the message will spread far and wide, because I love what you stand for. I love what you have both birthed, your fifth and fourth child.
Yes. I
Yeah.
think also, sorry, we did forget to mention we're also doing events. So that's our other way of supporting mums, by having a gathering, an in-person gathering, which we have our first one coming up in a couple of weeks and towards the end of August. And there will be more to come as well. So that's another area that we really think is important, that face-to-face, in-person support and contact connection.
And as you can probably gather, we both like a bit of a chat. So as Elisha said, we are always available. We are very active on Instagram, which we haven't mentioned, which is Not Another Onesie _ but yeah, we're absolutely love to hear from new mums, any new parents, but also lots of service providers contact us daily, and we're meeting some really amazing people along the way on our own journey, and lots of opportunities are opening up for not only mums but also the service providers. So yeah, by all means, please reach out to us, because we are all ears and we love a conversation.
Thank you. I'm so glad it's growing in the ways that you'd hoped and dreamed of. You girls are based in the Northern Beaches, aren't you? Is that where the events will be? Or
The
will they be?
first event is in Newport, so just up on the top end of the Northern Beaches, but we are definitely planning to spread them out all over Sydney, and then eventually other states and all over Australia. So we're starting in Sydney.
Wow,
That's
perfect.
local, and then spreading out.
Today the Northern Beaches, tomorrow the world.
Thank you for everything you do. I'm truly grateful to have met you, and you've taken the hard work out for parents navigating this whole thing of postpartum and parenthood. So thank you, and I look forward to connecting with you again.
Thank
Beautiful.
you, Katura.
Thank you
Lovely
for
of you
having
to have
us.
us. Yeah.
Pleasure. I hope that you enjoyed this episode and that it offered something helpful to your own mothering experience. If you are a pregnant woman or know someone who is, head over to my website to receive your free copy of the postpartum checklist and contact list. And if you'd like to be better prepared for your postpartum, both practically and mentally, purchase the Peaceful Postpartum ebook, a 52-page interactive guide on what you need to know and what matters most in postpartum. And so that we can get these conversations out to more mothers, I'd be grateful if you could like, share, and review this podcast, and we'll see you next time.